This is a documentary about the Little Rock Central High crisis by Taylor Colquitt, Brianna Crafton, and Catherine DeMoss. On September 25, 1957, the school district of Central High was changed forever. Before this date, Central High was a very segregated, all-white school, as were many other schools around the South. However, segregation of public schools based on race had been outlawed in a 1953 ruling by the United States Supreme Court, a decision known as the Brown v. Board of Education. 4 years after this decision, parents in Little Rock, working with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, won a court decision mandating the admission of 9 black students into Little Rock Central High School. But not everyone was pleased with this decision. White people in Little Rock rallied to protest integration and to forcibly keep the 9 African American students from entering the school. But after a request from the mayor of Little Rock, President Eisenhower mobilized more than 1,000 federal troops to ensure the students' safety. And the courageous Little Rock 9 successfully stepped into the halls of Central High School and into American history.
Hi, I'm John Kirk and I am Chair of the History Department and Donny Professor of History at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and I've written extensively on the Little Rock school crisis and civil rights in Arkansas.
Never came to Central High to the civil rights movement.
Well, Little Rock and the Central High crisis was one of the first big showdowns after the Supreme Court's 1954 Brown v. Board of Education school desegregation decision. And the way that school desegregation was going to be implemented came to a head at Central High because it was one of the first big school districts to try to desegregate in the South. And therefore it set the pattern for what would happen in other big places right across the South. Well, ironically, Little Rock was one of the first places to agree to comply with the Brown v. Board of Education decision. Many other places in the South said, we're not going to comply at all. But Little Rock put together a plan and tried to implement that plan. And the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, a civil rights organization, took the Little Rock School Board to court to hold it to go ahead with the plans that it had already drawn up. And therefore Little Rock was one of the first under court order to be forced to implement the plan that they came up with. The school board and the superintendent of schools, Virgil Blossom, went through a screening plan. And more than 200 students at first applied and were going to go to Central, but in one way or another Blossom excluded them and whittled down the number to 9 who remained at the end. So it was a selection process from the white community. The African American students themselves were the ones who wanted to go to Central High, and they picked themselves.
Who was Daisy Bates and what was her role?
Mrs. Bates, for the lack of a better term, served as kind of like a surrogate mother. She was here at the house when the students ended their day at school. She was able to comfort them, encourage them, to give them a shoulder on which to cry, so to speak.
You knew Daisy Bates in the last years of her life.
I did.
So, how did she feel about the whole thing?
She had a lot of feelings. Positive, because she was instrumental in helping to bring about the change that was needed, the change that was good, not only for the students, but for all the students, for the whole city, for the whole state, for the country. These debates made a contribution.
Okay, I'm Triopia Bryant.
Okay, you grew up in Little Rock, and what were some of the feelings in the African American community in 1957?
You know, the feelings were really mixed. There were those of us, for instance, in my family, and the majority of the people in my community felt that this was certainly a needed step towards improving education for all African Americans. And then there were those who were very fearful. And these were African Americans who felt that, oh, let's just keep everything as it is. You know, our education is good enough. So there were mixed feelings, and at the same time, because of some of the incidents that were going on, because whether you were a part of the Little Rock 9 family or community, if you were an African American in Little Rock, this was a time when it could be dangerous for anyone. Threats, people trashing your yards. So it was a lot of mixed feelings.
Your sister Elsie integrated in Hall High School 2 years after the Central High. So how did she feel at that time, and how was she influenced by the Central High?
She is a very strong personality, and she felt that the 1957 integration of Central was very needed for African Americans to have a quality education. And it was our feelings in our family that all people are equal. So it was definitely an encouragement, because we lived in the community where Hall High School is. So at the time that it was stated that Hall High School would be integrated, was available for integration, she was eager. She was a 10th grader. So she was eager to go and be a part of that and I think she would say, I did what I could for the cause of equality in education for African Americans, not just in Little Rock or in Arkansas, but in the South, period.
Thanks to the 9 brave African American students who in 1957 changed the course of American history. Ernest Green, Elizabeth Eckford, Jefferson Thomas, Terrence Roberts, Carlotta Walls, Minnie Jean Brown, Gloria Ray, Thelma Mothershed, and Melba Patillo.